It is season 2, episode 34. Oh my God, 34 of the Hall of Fame show. Evan Nolan, you're back. How many? I can't believe we've been doing this for this long. I guess you really want to get all those beers you keep winning from me.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about the bets we made last week, but I'm still sticking with the Patriots winning the AFC East. So
I mean that's what a loyal fan does.
yeah. So yeah, who we got for 34? Do we have anyone exciting?
Nolan Ryan again.
Nolan Ryan, the round mound of rebound, Shaq, but Shaq's not eligible yet. We had him nominated.
Yep. And specifically what we're talking about is the United States Athletic Hall of Fame. It's a creation by Evan and myself. www.notanhalloffame.com/USA. So that's why I got my Captain America t-shirt on.
Nice. Yeah. I have my Winchester Cooperative Bank t-shirt, where not only do they give you interest, they take interest in you.
Wow. Is that a sponsor for us?
I hope so. I know I've banked there since I was a little kid. So
okay. Awesome.
I still write checks from there. So
I'm sure you've got interns and you have to explain to them what a check is.
No, we don't have interns in our office anymore. Just that one intern who I had to explain how to address an envelope a couple years ago. I practically faded into dust. So
nice. Well, I mean, I'm interviewing someone tomorrow for the site who's I'm pretty sure might be 20. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she won a contest and was the ring announcer at SummerSlam.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I don't tweet too often, but I said like, holy shit, hire this person. She liked that, and I said, hey, want to come on my show?
Nice.
Yeah, so it'll sort of tie in with something that I'm going to be talking about later, but I guess we'll get into that.
Okay.
Just quick opening. The Baseball Hall of Fame had their class today, or their official induction ceremony. I didn't watch it. It's funny how passionate I am about the Hall of Fame, yet I don't watch any ceremony, or very rarely. Just quick, from what I can see from the Twitter world, most people were just impressed by the voice of Ted Simmons, and they wanted to sort of narrate things. So I thought that was sort of interesting.
Nice.
Yeah, and Derek Jeter is still upset at the one person who didn't vote for him. I don't blame him.
Yeah, so I want to there are two groups of people on Twitter who need to shut up this week.
Only
the
two?
Only two from that we care about, right? Okay. The first are the people who keep talking about the Chiefs dynasty that's going on right now. I've seen multiple things on the Chiefs dynasty. They've won one Super Bowl, got blown out by 22 in a second, and are 0-2 against Tom Brady in the playoffs. Come on. Let's back off of the dynasty for the Chiefs as of yet. I haven't won at least a second Super Bowl.
I'd agree.
Before that happens. So first of all, and again, I'm not ripping on the Chiefs, just their fans are insane. They're dumb. Mm-hmm. The other group of people who need to calm the hell down are people who say that Derek Jeter isn't a Hall of Famer. There's been a bunch of that on this week.
Who say that he's not a Hall of Famer?
That he should not be in the Hall of Fame, that he's one of the worst players in the Hall of Fame.
Derek Jeter is one of the worst players in the Baseball Hall of Fame.
Correct. It's all over today. And
I missed that completely.
I'm a Red Sox fan. Shut the hell up. Just stop it. That dude, there are certain people, it doesn't necessarily matter what their statistics are, right? Mm-hmm. Derek Jeter was a Hall of Famer, not just for his dating history, which is the greatest of any resume of all time.
No, it was the greatest. Well, it was the greatest gift basket that he gave.
Oh, that's true. But the best gift basket was just addressing on the resume.
Yeah.
But like, that man was a Hall of Famer all the way through. He was the heart and soul of those Yankees teams I loathed so very, very much. So just stop it. The one thing that was interesting today was someone did something on whether Jeter was on your Yankees Mount Rushmore. I think that's a legitimate discussion.
No.
I have him just off too, but just off because I think you have to have, and I think you have to have Ruth, DiMaggio, and Mantle, and then
Garrett.
The fourth spot could be Gehrig, but at some point you have to have a pitcher. I'd figure like Whitey Ford or somebody.
But yeah,
as a
you don't, because it's only 4 players. It's not like you can field a
True.
team with this. So
True.
yeah,
or Yogi Berra just being the heart and soul of the Yankees for so long too has to.
Yeah, I think I should look this up. When I did the top 50 Yankees of all time, I think I had Jeter at number 5, behind the 4 that I mentioned.
Yeah, I'd say 6 or 7 for me, but it's at least a legitimate discussion. I think I'd still have Berra in front of him, and again, I think I'd have Whitey Ford. I would not have Phil Rizzuto in front of him though. So. Or Joe Gordon, or any of the other people who got in the Hall of Fame because they were Yankees.
Yeah, Phil Rizzuto could be that that person. Like, he's not a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, well, I mean, if Phil Rizzuto himself,
Mm-hmm.
to his credit, said that if he was a Hall of Famer, Johnny Pesky of the Red Sox should have been in before him. And Johnny Pesky is also a borderline guy. Even though he did give me, I think I've told you a story when I was my first ever baseball game. I got a baseball handed to me by Johnny Pesky and immediately brought it home and played with it. And I have no idea which. It's probably somewhere in my somewhere in the box. I have a giant trash barrel of just random tennis balls, racquetballs, baseballs, everything that was in my garage from my childhood. I took with me out here. It's probably in there somewhere, but I have no idea where it is. Yeah, but Johnny Pesky, it was probably a better player than Rizzuto, and Rizzuto, to his credit, said that. But yeah, it's not close. You people who think Derek Jeter doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame, just stop it.
I did not see that on Twitter today, but yeah, that's fascinating. I can't imagine. I get people who hate Jeter if you're a Red Sox fan, like yourself, and it seems like you don't. But
Jeter got the place that Peyton Manning did too. And again, my thing with Peyton Manning, the HGH, whatever.
Right.
But Peyton Manning got the point where I couldn't hate him anymore. Mm-hmm. He's just too good to hate. The same thing with Jeter. Jeter was just too good to hate. Mariano Rivera was too good to hate.
Right.
Like, at some point, you just had to be like, they're just ridiculous.
No, absolutely.
So that's where I am Jeter. Now, you want to bring up Paul O'Neill? That's a man I hate. So yeah, but anyway. Oh, by the way, the other group people need to calm down. All the Red Sox fans are comparing Nomar to Jeter.
Mm-hmm.
Nomar's career to Jeter. Calm down. Okay.
Nomar almost was. Oh, my little dog is bringing me a toy. Yes, Jasper. I'm going to promote his Instagram. Jasper _ the friendly corgi, for anyone who wants to follow the best corgi on Instagram. I'm a little bit
that is actually probably a pretty high bar to clear, to be honest. There are a lot of corgis.
Yes. Well, he's the best. I can guarantee he's the best corgi in Barbados.
Fair enough.
Yes, that I can guarantee. I think he's the only one, but yes.
Hey,
I mean, it's a more fun thing to promote than the usual stuff I do.
True. Hey, my daughter has a 4th place trophy for karate that she displays proudly for a competition she was in where there are only 4 people competing. So just excited to get the trophy.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, we are in the participation trophy era.
Yeah. Well, they give them the top 4 in everything. It just so happened there are only 4 in her competition.
Mm-hmm.
So,
well, I guess that kind of leads me to the shit box.
Oh, good.
All right.
I'm glad that my daughter's participation trophy leads into the shit box.
Yeah, there really is no segue to that.
Continue though.
Yes. Actually, I got to look up her person's name. I completely forgotten this person. But while I'm looking up the one I really want to talk about, and it's right back to tennis. Jesus, Naomi, please stop. Quit for a while.
Yeah, she needs to quit for a while. 100%.
Because she did the same exact thing again. Cried, and then on a press conference, and then when the lifeline was there, she tried to answer a question anyway.
Yeah.
God damn it. The people around her, whoever is around her, really needs to help her out. I don't know who it is. I don't know her support system. Mm-hmm. But Jesus Christ, it's just, it's breaking my heart, really.
Yeah, that girl needs help before something bad happens.
Mm-hmm. And it's clearly getting into her head. because she had her meltdown. I think that's the first time she had a meltdown on the court. And for whatever reason, well, only she can answer that. I think what's gotten in her head is, and it's the sad thing is, it's her fault because she told everyone what her Achilles heel is. And it's dealing with press. And for some reason, people didn't tell her that nobody gives a shit. Or she can't understand that no one gives a shit. What she needs to do, she lives in New York, I think, right?
That I can't tell you.
All right, I think so. I could be wrong, but wherever the closest NHL team is, hang out with hockey players for a month and ask them how they answer questions. And that will work perfectly. To just give non-answers that are boring and no one's going to pay attention. Well, you know, like I gave it my best out there, and you know, like Serena just had her A game, and you know, like I wish her nothing but the best. Poof, there you go.
Yep.
That's sort of my thing. But now we're sort of in a thing where other players are. How do I put this? And I've said this before, that the social currency of being a victim has never been higher. Now, I don't know that Naomi's, some people have said Naomi's a victim. Now, to her credit, Naomi's never said that about herself. Well, she kind of has, but not really. She just says that it's hard for her. And it's something that she doesn't handle well. So needless to say, this leads to the tennis media then asking other players the same shit. So Sloane Stevens shared some Instagram posts or responses of people just shitting on them. No, I gotta say this. I mean, like, you and I are super fans, right? But who are these tennis trolls?
They're trolls for literally everything.
And most of the time, they don't even give a shit about any of these players, I'm sure.
Yeah, well, there was, I can't remember what players it was on the women's side who lost the match she wasn't expected to lose and said she expected to get home and have a whole bunch of things about body image and stuff like that.
That's where I'm going here with this.
Yeah.
It's Shelby Rogers.
Yeah, there it is, Shelby Rogers.
Because that was the name I had to look up because I'd never heard of her before this week. And there's a reason I never heard of her, is because her highest ever ranking was 40.
Okay.
So she's 28, so she's probably not going to get, she's probably not going to do particularly, she may never get to, she's probably not going to win a big tournament, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But she had a good tournament here. Now she goes up here, so then she says, she did talk about how, yeah, she's going to get some people calling her fat. Okay. But then she said, yeah, you know, after my loss, I'm going to get 9 million death threats. No, you're not. You're not going to get 9 million death threats. You're not even going to get 9 death threats. You're not going to get any death threats. And if you are, they're all bullshit. Like, gee, and then goes on to say about how she wishes there was no social media. Well, okay. Then don't be on it. You don't have to be.
But nah, that's incorrect.
She doesn't have to be.
That is 100% wrong.
Okay.
Why? She said that in her statement. She said she would cut out social media altogether if she had to, but in order to market yourself at all, which is how you get paid in this stuff, if you can't win tournaments, you have to have some sort of social media presence.
No, she doesn't. She can just say, screw it. How much marketing is she really getting? Like a few bucks here and there?
More than if she has no social media.
Sure, but it's a choice. It's still a choice.
I disagree.
Okay. So let's say we go with what you say. And she's got to do it. She doesn't have to read it.
All right, fair. That she doesn't have to. She doesn't have to read it. But there has to be, everybody needs some sort of social media presence if you're in the public eye at this point. Name one person in the public eye you can think of who has no social media presence.
Ding, 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 ding. Ding, 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 ding.
I'm
sure there are.
I mean, I'm sure, like, maybe, I don't know if Meryl Streep has one or anything like that. I wouldn't be surprised if she doesn't. But, like, the vast majority of people who are under the age of 50, if they have any sort of career, have to have some sort of social media presence.
All right, fair enough. So, but at least if you're going to go up there, maybe don't say I'm going to have 9 million death threats.
Fair enough.
Maybe just go up there and say, you know what, I'm gonna get some negative comments about my shape, my looks, other
100%
things.
on that.
But
Yeah.
9 million death threats that I see in the underneath ticker when I'm watching sports, you are not.
Hey man, hyperbole is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, that's why it's hyper.
Yeah.
So I mean that's a bit of my shit box there. It's
okay.
I don't want to go too much more because I've already talked about all this with Naomi, but oh my God, watching it, it's breaking my heart. I feel so bad for this girl.
Did you ever expect to become the women's tennis guy here on this
No.
show?
No, absolutely not. It's no. Although here I gotta say, great troll job on me, by the way.
Well, I'm sorry.
Troll job on me.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. When you sent me, hey, maybe we could talk about this. It's the 25 greatest WNBA players of all time.
I did send you that.
Yeah, you did send me that, and I actually saw that before, and I was actually looking through it, like, oh, maybe this is gonna, and I got really nothing. I all 25 of these women are going to be in the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Yeah, the list is exceptionally what you think the list is going to look like.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway.
So yeah, I thought that might actually have been a topic this week, but it didn't really fit as an elevator because they're all going to get in, and they all should.
Despite, and the other thing we didn't bring up is they announced some of the ceremony presenters for Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. I didn't think really need to go there either. So
yeah. So do we go to there's been a lot of deaths. Do we go to that or do we go to the elevator?
Let's get some of these deaths out of the way here.
Okay. Yeah. There's quite a few. A lot in football, which I'm sure you're going to get to.
Yeah, we'll get to there. So. All right, we'll start in the world of music. Passing away earlier this week was Ricky Lee Reynolds from Black Oak, Arkansas. It was an American Southern rock band. He was the rhythm guitarist from, that Black Oak, Arkansas has been around forever, from 65 to 77 and 84 until he just passed away. But yeah, he was with the band for 64 is when this started, or they were originally known as the Nobody Else.
I only know the one song, Jim Dandy to the Rescue.
Yeah, right. So, but he passed away from COVID at 72. We lost Carol Fran, who is an award-winning soul singer, pianist, and writer. She passed away at the age of 87, also from complications from COVID. In the world of wrestling, we had 3 folks who passed away. First, Wild Bill White passed away at the age of 76, also known as the Blue Demon, the Destroyer, and the Scorpion, among other things. Do you have anything to say about him?
I wasn't familiar with him.
Okay.
There is someone you're going to mention that I do want to talk about, but
yeah, we're going to get there. But yeah, he passed away at the age of 76. He held championships he's mostly down the Gulf Coast championship wrestling area, back when it was regionalized. We lost Steve Lawler, passed away at the age of 56. He was also known as Liberty McCall, the Flame, among other things. Steve the Brawler Lawler, mostly in Deep South wrestling, and then the independent circuit before ending up, back in and around. Do you have anything on Steve Lawler?
No, I'm not familiar with his work.
Okay, so he also died from COVID at the age of 56 in Florida. And the one I'm sure you want to talk about is Daphne.
Yeah.
So Daphne passed away at the age of 46, actually born as Shannon Claire, I guess it's Spruill.
I think so.
She, I'll let you talk about Daphne.
Yeah, she committed suicide, and it was, man, I'm kind of getting the sort of, remember we talked about Hana Kimura?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and she was another, for those who aren't into pro wrestling, she was another pro wrestler. She took her own life, but she was only 21, 22, I forget. And she was the victim of online bullying after being on a Japanese reality show. With Daphne, I remember she never competed in the WWE. She was in WCW in the tail end of that promotion's existence. And the best way I can sort of describe her, I mean, she had quite a few tattoos, which wasn't as common in the late 90s as it is now. Pretty girl, but just seemed so down to earth. And there's not one person who ever said anything bad about her. Nothing close. So she'd be that type of person maybe you'd meet at a party and you might think, holy shit, she's the coolest person in this room. I think someone described her as the girl next door if she was goth. And she, like Hana Kimura, pretty much posted her death online, or her farewell. So she did this on an Instagram post. I did see it. Jesus Christ. Where she basically said how she's alone and for people not to repeat her mistakes. And what she meant specifically, I don't know.
Right.
It's speculated that a lot of it was her thing in wrestling. She was in a promotion that still exists. It's called Impact Wrestling now, but it was TNA at the time. And she took, basically she got the shit kicked out of her a couple times. Massively bad concussion. One time she was wrestling this one lady who was, I'll just put it bluntly, big, fat, and uncoordinated. And sat on her sternum and just didn't know how to do it properly to protect her opponent. So she wound up basically suing for workers' comp because they also said they're going to take care of her and they never did. So she had.
I'm shocked that a wrestling promoter would lie about something like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's like when we talked about Dana White, and then I could talk about Vince McMahon. This promotion at the time, run by a lady named Dixie Carter, would say, "Hold my beer." And in her farewell to the world, she wanted her brain to be donated to Boston, where they do the CTE.
Yeah.
So, which, I mean, I hope, I guess it's going to happen. I don't know. And the whole thing is just so sad because the outpouring of love that she got from people. So clearly she wasn't alone, but she thought she was. Whatever she was going through.
Yeah.
And it's heartbreaking to watch somebody who is that young. I mean, just only a couple of years younger than myself. And clearly things just weren't going well. She felt like everything was taken from her, or the thing that maybe she loved the most is what put her in that position in the first place. And for what, you know?
I got to this question here. I know you brought up Hana Kimura. Ashley Massaro committed suicide a few years ago. China may have committed suicide. This was an accidental overdose. But...
Yeah. I mean, she pretty much did. She pilled herself to death. But she was also a troubled, very troubled soul.
She is very troubled soul. I mean, that's 3, at least maybe 4 fairly high profile female wrestlers who have committed suicide or overdosed in the last 5 years. None of whom were older. I think China was probably the oldest, like mid 40s. Same thing with Daphne.
I would think that Daphne was the oldest. I don't believe.
How was China? Let me just see. China was also 46.
Oh, was she? Okay, I thought she was older.
Yeah, so, and I know there's whole websites dedicated to wrestlers who die young, right? But is there anything in particular about wrestling that affects the female wrestlers more? Or is it just so happens that that's?
I'd say no. Just like with each, I wouldn't say more, because there's certainly a lot more men who have done the same thing. Suicide.
Sure. Chris Benoit. I mean, they're a bunch.
Well, Eddie Guerrero, although he didn't commit suicide, but he was a victim of his own excess.
Right.
In a lot of cases. I mean, the pressure to look a certain way. I mean, like, you look at Benoit and Guerrero, these are guys who are no taller than me. I'm only 5'7", 5'8". And they're having like a 230-pound frame of rock hard muscle. Yeah. You're not meant to do that.
Yeah.
Then throw in all the head injuries that, especially Benoit. He had a flying headbutt off the top rope that he would do. And like, and there was that attempted concussion lawsuit against the WWE, which that one was never going to go anywhere. Not because of the WWE itself, but my understanding is when they did that in the NFL deliberately held back information. You're going to have a real hard time saying, hey, Vince didn't tell us stuff when he's taking chair shots to the head.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that was never going to go anywhere, nor should it have, frankly. But it's amazing that only 20 years ago, these people, men and women, were just thinking, hey, it's a great idea to take a unprotected headshot from a chair. And they were doing it over and over. And
it's kind of amazing Mick Foley is still with us.
It is fascinating that not only is he still with us, I mean, his body is showing the wear and tear, but he should be in a wheelchair and he should be drooling.
Agree.
When he talks. And the fact that he doesn't seem to have lost. I mean, he says sometimes he gets forgetful, but you'd never know it with the amount of interviews that he gives. If there's any cognitive decline, he sure as hell hasn't shown it. But I don't think it's any harder. But to your initial question, I don't think it's any harder on women. It's just in terms of mathematical proportion, this is about right.
Understood. Yeah. I was just wondering, it's just one of those things I noticed because there was a couple posts with Ashley Massaro in China and Hana Kimura and Daphne all in the same thing about female wrestlers dying too. I was just wondering what you thought. So
yeah, it's just in so many ways, it's a shitty industry. I mean, like I talk about whenever we talk about something about hypocrisy, I always sort of lose it. And sometimes I am that guy. I'm disgusted by the IOC, the NCAA, and pro wrestling. I'm hooked on all three.
Yep.
And I know it. And I should walk away from all three. And I don't.
Understood.
Yeah.
All right. We'll go out, I guess, into rest in peace, Daphne again, 46. Let's go into football here. Keith McCants, another troubled person, passed away at 53, played for the Buccaneers, Oilers, and Cardinals. I mean, defensive player of the year in 89 in college. I mean, just one of those guys who should have been a bigger splash in the NFL than he could, but he was just messed up.
Yeah.
I don't have any better way to say it.
You talk about, we go from wrestling to football, and in a lot of the cases, the ones we're talking about, I'm sure I don't know if that's going to be something you're going to be talking about today, but who was the one person who just got indicted?
The folks who from the bad. I mean the three guys who Kamrick Vanover.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if that was going to be one of your
No, it's not actually.
Okay. And just trying to bilk your own people. Like your own fellow football players. But yeah, it's a dirty, disgusting product. Or there's a lot. I shouldn't say that. there's a seedy underbelly to it. I think might be more accurate. Because we certainly know some people associated in the NFL who are just phenomenal people.
Yeah. But yeah, Keith McCants was probably coming out of Alabama, the best defensive player in that draft, or thought to be the best defensive player, although he was drafted 4th in 1990. Here are the top 5 picks of the 1990 draft. You ready?
Yeah.
Indianapolis Colts from the Atlanta Falcons select Jeff George, number 1.
Yeah.
Number 2, keeping their incredible run of great drafting, the New York Jets selected Blair Thomas, running back from Penn State. Number 3, from the New England Patriots as part of a trade, Cortez Kennedy, Hall of Famer. McCants went to the Buccaneers 4. Number 5, the San Diego Chargers selected Junior Seau. So drafted right between 2 defensive Hall of Famers. Number 9, by the way, Richmond Webb.
Our friend.
Yep. Also in that draft, 17 was Emmitt Smith. I'm looking for any other Hall of Famers. 192, Shannon Sharp. And that's pretty much it. We had some other people who were, John Randall as well was undrafted that year. Can you imagine John Randall being undrafted? Yeah. Anyway, Keith McCants, 53.
I think Scottie Pippen was a walk-on in college. I mean, think of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And died much too young. One person I will mention before I get to the Patriots, Canadian Football League owner Bob Wettenhall, who owned the Montreal Alouettes for 21 years, passed away. Member of the Canadian Football Hall of Fame as of 2015. He died at the age of he was born in either 1934 or 35. So that makes him either 87 or 86. So, but he passed away, Canadian Football Hall of Famer. But we had, from the world of football, 2 Patriots passed away. It's a bad week for Patriots fans. First, one of the very underrated people on the early Patriots dynasty. That's the dynasty. You win 3 and 4 years.
A real dynasty. Yeah, I'm going to say that's a 20-year dynasty.
Agreed, but there's 2 distinct parts of it, with like a part in the middle where they didn't actually win anything. 07, they lost a couple of Super Bowls in there in the middle. But David Patton, who died in a motorcycle accident at the age of 47, caught the first touchdown pass of Tom Brady's postseason career. Just an all-around good guy. He and David Givens were the 2, I guess, star wide receivers for the early Patriots, along with Troy Brown. And none of those guys were highly regarded. Troy Brown was an 8th-round draft pick. How long ago was that? He was drafted in a round that no longer exists. David Patton got to the league by starting with the Albany Firebirds from the Arena League. He was there he came out of Western Carolina in 96 undrafted, played a year in the Arena League before he got to the Giants for 2 years, a year at the Browns, then spent 3 years with the Patriots 4 years with Patriots in which he won 3 Super Bowls. But just overall, a genuinely great guy, quiet guy. A week before he passed away, he was at a Patriots convention, like they had an open thing at Gillette. That he was signing all sorts of things like that. It's just
really
just a really guy. He's never gonna be a Hall of Fame. He may never even be the Patriots Hall of Fame, but he was incredibly reliable at a time when the Patriots needed someone like him. And it's just sad for that era to lose somebody so young at the age of 47.
Yeah.
A little bit older is this trivia question came up on Chicago Sports Radio the other day. What team has the lowest career all-time passing leader in their franchise history? The fewest yards for their all-time passing leader.
For their all-time passing leader?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I guess it's a young team. Texans?
Mm-mm.
Okay. I don't know.
The Chicago Bears.
Who's their all-time leading?
The most yards, by the way, anyone has ever thrown for in Bears history is 3,200 yards.
In the season.
in a season. But it's the same person. Jay Cutler is their all-time passing leader with 23,443. Second is Sid Luckman at 14,686.
Wow.
Let's reverse that. What team has the lowest all-time rushing leader in their career history?
All time.
All time.
I'm not going to get that wrong and say the Texans again.
Well, there's a reason I'm asking you this right now.
Oh, is it the Patriots?
It's Sam Cunningham for the Patriots, who passed away this week at the age of 72. 54-53 for his career.
Yeah. It is true, though. I mean, when you think about the Patriots, you don't think of these power running backs. You think of almost every other position.
Yeah. He's a member of the Patriots Hall of Fame. We elected him. He was, I think, the third player the fans elected because the Patriots Hall, as we talked about, it's done really well. Mm-hmm. It's set up really well. We elected Stanley Morgan, Ben Coates. I think Sam Cunningham was the third. He averaged 4.8 yards a carry in his career, which is very, very good. He's a member of the College Football Hall of Fame out of USC. He was the the first round pick 11 in the 1973 draft. Patriots had 3 picks in that first round of the 73 draft. Their third one, at number 19, was Darryl Stingley, who unfortunately had his career ended by Jack Tatum and passed away a few years ago. They nailed their first pick, though. John Hannah. Mm-hmm. Hard to beat that one.
Very hard.
Yeah. Sam Cunningham, again, just another great, kind guy, another Patriots legend. He played for 9 years. He was injured quite a bit. I'm sorry, he averaged 3.9 for his career, but he had 4.8, I think, in 4 different seasons is what it was.
How did he pass?
I actually never saw how he passed.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, he is the older brother of
Randall Cunningham.
Yeah, of Randall Cunningham.
That I didn't know when I read the obit. I had no idea.
Yeah. So and again, a member of the 2010 College Football Hall of Fame. But yeah, just a bad week for Patriots. Yeah, just by the way, the top 5 rushers in Patriots history: Sam Cunningham at 54-53, Jim Nance, not that Jim Nance, at 53-23, Tony Collins at 46-47, Curtis, my favorite, Martin, at 37-99. He only played for the Patriots for 3 years and is 4th all time. And Kevin Falk, who played for the Patriots forever, but he was a receiving back at 36-07. It's crazy. They're the top active player on their rushing list. I can't even find him. Sony Michel's gone.
It would have been Cam Newton if he wasn't cut.
Yeah, Cam Newton is 46 on their list. He's behind Jim Plunkett. Rex Burkhead's gone. Tom Brady's 33rd. That's all you need to know. So yeah, James White, I think, is number 1 right now at 1,240 career rushing yards for the Patriots. So not a rushing team. Although this year they're going to be very much a rushing team. So anyway, then we lost 2 people from the world at large. Number 1, Michael K. Williams. Omar Little, more than anything else, probably is best remembered as from The Wire.
Chalky White and Boardwalk Empire.
Chalky White is Boardwalk Empire, which is still one of the greatest names of all time. Also been in, I remember he was in 12 Years a Slave. He was in Gone Baby Gone.
Community.
Community.
Yep.
He was found dead in his apartment at the age of 54. I don't know. It doesn't say what he passed away from.
Well, they found heroin paraphernalia, so probably that unfortunately.
Sucks.
Yeah, it's, man, how many, I think the real sad part is this was like one of the great character actors. What more, so he died at 54. You got to figure he might have had 20 more years of just great roles in him, maybe more.
Yeah.
You know, because he wasn't somebody who was ever going to really be the lead. You didn't need him to be. I mean, he could have played the heavy and stuff for years and years and years to come.
Yeah.
Or anything he wanted to be. He was just that good.
It's like, you know Giancarlo Esposito?
Yeah.
Like Giancarlo Esposito showed up in the Mandalorian, and I was like, oh shit, now he's in trouble. That could have been Michael K. Williams. Like anytime Giancarlo Esposito shows up, you know the good guys are in serious shit. That could have seriously been Michael K. Williams for the next 20 plus years easily.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, absolutely. It's just far too young, far too and preventable, sadly, if that's what it was.
If that's what it was. And then finally, the original Ronald McDonald, Willard Scott, America's favorite weatherman, passed away.
He was the original Ronald McDonald?
He was. You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah, he's the original Ronald McDonald.
No,
he's the one who created the character.
I had no idea.
He is a graduate of the American University, one of our most famous alumni, along with Judge Judy. We have both.
I didn't know too much about Willard Scott. I guess mainly because, you know, there's not a whole lot of reasons for a Canadian to watch the American weather.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I just remember Joan Rivers always talking about him with the big crop, like just saying that was her dream guy.
Yeah, he was apparently Greg. Al Roker was like completely devastated. Said that Willard Scott was like a second father to him. But yeah,
NBC, no? Like,
I'm sorry.
Wasn't he an NBC? I think.
I don't know. Show, which is I guess NBC. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you ever look up the original Ronald McDonald, he has like a red and yellow striped shirt with a napkin around his neck, and then like a cup for a nose, and like all I can describe as like the box you would have had in the 1950s as a car hop bringing drinks out on his head. So that was the original Ronald McDonald. But yeah, he was 87 when he passed away. It says natural causes. I don't know what that is, especially, but yeah, again, passed away at the age of 87. One of the probably best known news people for Americans anyway. Although I will say Canada made some news this week. I don't know if you heard this. First of all, congratulations. I told you you're going to make the World Cup. You have 5 points through 3 games at this point. You proved that El Salvador could be beaten, which is something the U.S. got 1 shot on goal against El Salvador. Don't even bring that up. But one of the top franchisee in Canada this week said that Grimace was actually a life-size taste bud, is what he was supposed to be, an anthropomorphic taste bud.
Ew.
Yeah. McDonald's says that he is anthropomorphic something. There's no creature with any definite, but he came up with an anthropomorphic taste bud. So I don't know.
Well, I thought we said Canada's in the news. I thought you were going to talk about how someone was pelting Justin Trudeau with gravel.
Oh,
which I do not. I hate Trudeau, but I do not endorse that.
That is true.
I want to be very clear.
I will say one thing though, and we'll go into soccer in a little bit, but you wanted to talk about CONCACAF briefly.
Sure.
CONCACAF is a freaking mess. It is the ugly stepchild of international soccer. Although I will say a couple other ones brought their true CONCACAF this week. I don't know if you know, Morocco was supposed to play Guinea in a World Cup qualifier, and they got to the stadium, and which is like right in the capital of Conakry, and the military staged a coup and overthrew the government and basically had the Moroccan team locked in the stadium for a while before they canceled the game and sent them home. So that's a bit of a mess that you don't normally see. I'll get to what happened in South America in my ugly. Nice. But like the U.S. is playing. It was a week ago, I think, tonight, where the U.S. was playing El Salvador, and Claudio Reyna is trying to take a corner kick, and they have guys with like 10-foot long plastic shields to protect him from all the things raining down on the side and everything. And it was absolutely, the field was awful. the U.S. had one shot on goal against the 64th best team in the world. I'm not going to say that they should have won that game. They should at least put up a better performance, make the goalie deep. But like that was one thing. You want to talk about the lack of VAR. Most of these countries barely have soccer stadiums. Like if the U.S. had to play, I think it was Guyana, because Guyana's in South America, but they have no chance of competing. So Guyana and Suriname play in CONCACAF. Mm-hmm. And they played in Guyana, and it was legitimate. Like they had just gotten the sheep off at like 10 minutes previously.
Well, living here in Barbados, it's such a shame. When Glenn and I, we did our last show, our sports review show, and we had two former Barbados basketball players. And it's funny, so we were talking about the US versus Canada and the Dream Team thing. And then the last 20 minutes, we're just talking about why this country of just these great natural athletes can't get developed. And it's so simple because there's one great cricket field here, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So, my friend who was on that show, Celia, like she'll say like how much better she could have been as a basketball player if she would have had the right facilities. And then the other guy on the show, he said like there was no point for him because he played at UC Santa Barbara. Yeah. So said like I'm not coming back in the summer because just getting the good court time, because it's really just like shitty courts on the outside. Like if you're not really developing for cricket, this country isn't going to give a shit. And the soccer fields here they're disgusting. I thought for sure when I moved here, I was going to try to find try to go to a game, like because there's the Barbados League, and everyone I talk to says don't bother. And then they
all play in the same field, and they switch.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's exactly. Yeah.
That's what I expect would happen.
Yeah, and then I saw the field, and it's a total shithole.
No. So first of all, welcome to CONCACAF. I will say Canada's doing well, but they won't go true CONCACAF. There's
three games. Canada won't go through CONCACAF?
No, they haven't gone full CONCACAF yet for Canada.
Oh.
So they've gotten through their first 3 games, but their games coming in October and then November. In October, I believe they play Costa Rica at home, and then November they play Mexico at home. If those games aren't played in like Yellowknife or Whitehorse, like in the middle of nowhere in the Northwest Territories or Nunavut, like if you guys have a soccer field on back,
I'll have none of that talk.
But if you got like put it in St. John's, Newfoundland, like just put the Mexicans in the coldest frickin' weather you can find, and then you can go full CONCACAF. That's how you do it, because you're gonna be too nice to put it in like Toronto or Vancouver or Montreal.
Well, no. We are nice people, but 2 things. First off, well done as an American knowing Yellowknife, Whitehorse, and none of it. That is. I am
a geography nerd, my friend.
Yeah. No. As am I. So I think that is colossally awesome. Second, I think when you say full CONCACAF, I'm getting Tropic Thunder vibes. You never go full retard.
Yeah. Canada has to go full CONCACAF. Like that game in Mexico at least has to be in Winnipeg in November.
Winnipeg. Oh God, I know Winnipeg. Oh, I got the Jets hat on.
Put that game in Winnipeg. Put that in Edmonton. Put that in the middle of nowhere and a freezing field, and make the Mexicans freeze to death.
Why not? Actually, Winnipeg's got a brand new CFL stadium.
Put them there. Just put that game there. Go make it. Because these other teams, like the U.S. is playing Honduras right now. Last I saw it was 0-0. I haven't looked at the game. I can guarantee you that field has puddles on it, because that's what they do. They like, even if it hasn't rained, they wet down the fields to make it really hard for the teams. That was part of the reason the U.S. Again, I'm not making excuses for them. Those were part of the reason the U.S. was having such trouble in El Salvador. It's our youngest team we've had in a long, long time, and they've played all those. Like we just won the Gold Cup. All those games are played in the U.S.
Right.
They're used to playing on real fields in real stadiums, and they were not prepared for a bombing range, which is essentially what El Salvador's field is.
Yeah.
So we'll see exactly what happens, but yeah, I told you, I'm calling it that Canada is going to make the World Cup. I don't know if the U.S. is a better win tonight if they really want to have a shot at it. And right now they're losing 1-0. So if they come out of this, they were talking about getting 9 points from 3 games. They come out with 2 points in 3 games, they're in serious trouble. So, although Mexico's looked terrible too and won their first 2, they tied Panama tonight.
That's all. I wouldn't mind to see. I always have a soft spot for Mexico, only because I've been there so many times. I've a couple dear friends from Mexico, but you always know what you're going to get with Mexico in the World Cup. They're going to get through with a win, loss, and a draw, and then knocked out.
They're going to lose the round of 16, and they're going to lose the round of 16.
Right? Yeah, I think I read somewhere. I don't know if this is still true. The most World Cup losses is Mexico, which makes perfect sense because they're always good for at least 2 every tournament.
Interesting. That would be a good one to look up. I didn't know that. It wouldn't make sense.
I don't know if that. I know I looked that up. God, I don't know how long ago. I don't know if that's still true, but I don't see how anyone's sort of taken over that mantle.
Yeah. You want to go to elevator up, elevator down?
Yeah. So my elevator up is something that I probably should have thought of a few months ago, and there's not a lot of happening in the world of sport. Realistically, there was a few baseball players I could have picked based on their cumulative year, but I've been working on one of the segments I do for the site is I just take an award and then I see how many people have made it to their respective Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm. And I was working on the Hank Aaron Award, and so I'm doing like a quick thing on Barry Bonds, and I'm thinking, okay, well, he must have the highest OPS in the season of all time. He doesn't anymore because on Baseball Reference with the Negro Leagues, he's actually 4th all time.
Okay.
So, and we talked about a bit about that, like how is that going to sort of affect things? And I saw something in the New York Times yesterday, and it was basically talking about how the Baseball Hall of Fame has sort of done something wrong, where in 2006 was the last time they said they're going to close the door for the Negro Leagues. Well, with the with Baseball Reference, which I think you and I could agree, like all the sports reference, like they're just so valuable. I love.
They are ridiculously valuable.
Yeah, I love those sites so much, and I was looking up someone who I always wondered why he wasn't there, only because of the profile he had, and that's Buck O'Neill. And the article was sort of really hammering that Buck O'Neill should be there. Now, you look at his stats, which is the first time I really took a look at it. You can kind of see why he's not. But this is a guy who, when you think about the canon of Negro League players, is in the top 10. And a lot of that is from Ken Burns being part of that great documentary series that he did. Just in all the stories that he told, he was the living embodiment of that. He was the guy who helped pioneer the Negro League Hall of Fame.
Yep.
He was a big part of that. And I think with a little bit more added attention, maybe this isn't my best elevator up, but I just thought it might be someone to bring up, because as we're talking about the Baseball Hall of Fame and with what Baseball Reference did, I mean, what better person to talk about right now than Buck O'Neill?
Yeah. So when the Baseball Hall of Fame tried doing their Negro League cleanup a few years ago, like, hey, we're going to close out whatever, the person they put in charge of it, like of the committee, was Buck O'Neill.
Right. Yeah.
And they did. I mean, there's the only rational person put in charge. The dude's won the Presidential Medal, Freedom, and like, he was at that point in his early 90s. I think he was 95 when he passed. It got to be 15 years ago at this point. But he was in charge of it, and he was just like, these are the people and everything, and they didn't elect him. Like, he was the history of the Hall of Fame. I don't, like, again, back to Phil Rizzuto. Phil Rizzuto has had a much smaller impact on baseball than Buck O'Neill did.
Absolutely.
And should have been, as part of that, they should have been like, Buck, we're electing you as well. I don't care what you say. I brought up Cheney committees the other day.
Mhm.
About how the guy from Jeopardy had to get fired because he's in charge of the search committee that chose him. Same thing with Dick Cheney when he was a vice presidential search. Buck O'Neill was not in that situation. He just put a list together of recommendations, which he did not put himself on. And then they didn't elect him anyway, which they should have done. I hope he gets in. I am
like maybe the next veterans category, if they're not going to create another slew of Negro League players.
I don't think they are.
I don't think they are either, but there's no reason why they couldn't put him in on that list.
No, agreed. No, they could take the Negro League folks and put them in the pre-expansion era, whatever category,
right?
1945 era.
Yeah. So I mean, I thought that might be sort of a fun one to talk about. So
absolutely.
Yeah. So he's my elevator up, and my elevator down is a really weird one because it's actually a Hall of Fame itself.
Ooh.
I've been talking about, I'm going to go back to wrestling here. I've been talking a lot with you about how my fandom has really shrunk of the WWE. I pretty much only watch the big shows. I listen to, and I'll read what happened so that I don't have to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
I watched on the weekend AEW, which is the new promotion run by the Khans.
Arts and Entertainment Wrestling.
I don't have a good joke here, but yeah, All Elite Wrestling.
Okay, yeah. It's on after Poirot. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now they in the last month have just signed CM Punk, Daniel Bryan, pretty much anyone who wants to have fun is going there.
Mm-hmm.
WWE is imploding, even though they've never been more profitable. But basically, if you want to be happy in your work, people are just super happy working there.
Didn't they just have Jeff Hardy in like the 24/7 championship thing, which is ridiculous? Who's like way above that? Like Rob Gronkowski held that title. Like, there's no reason Jeff Hardy should be involved in that in any way, shape, or form. I saw that on Twitter at some point. Okay, like, why is Jeff Hardy trending?
It could be because I don't watch Raw anymore. I just read what happened. And if something looks interesting, I might go back and look at it, but usually it doesn't. But if the current trajectory happens, it could be years before this happens because the WWE has more money than they know what to do with, especially with the deals they made with Saudi Arabia doing there and as now part of the Peacock network. So they got the NBC money flowing. It's not going to be that long before AEW television ratings surpasses the WWE. And they're just losing people like crazy. Most of them because they chose to. They're releasing people, just letting them go, and then when they're in a bidding war, they're losing. I don't know if they're being outbid financially, or it's just like, screw this. I don't want to deal with Vince.
Yeah,
which is more likely it. So I'm going to say like the whole WWE Hall of Fame is that prestige is going to shrink because you've got now a bunch of young wrestlers coming up. I would say their dream isn't to go to the WWE right now. Whenever somebody would say that, if they're American, it's like, bullshit, you're lying. I don't think that's the case anymore. So my elevator down is an entire Hall of Fame that actually doesn't have a home anyway.
Yeah. They should just put in the McMahon McMansion in Connecticut.
Or something.
Yeah.
Might as well. I mean, like that whole organization is falling apart. They're a feeder system that they created, NXT. They've now just said, you know what, we're just not looking for independent wrestlers anymore. So they're just looking for other athletes. So basically people, hey, do you want to wrestle? So people who didn't grow up feeling this kind of passion to do it. And I never had so much fun watching a show in years than when I watched the last pay-per-view that AEW did. It was a lot of fun to watch, and the fans were crazy. And great fans make events a lot bigger than they are, and bad fans make a great event poor. So right. Yeah, that's something I thought was my unique elevator down.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. I'm here for it.
Yeah. Which brings us to our, I guess, your hammer, the good. the bad, and the ugly. That was
Yeah,
my best ever.
That was really good.
Thank you.
I will say the way things are going, the ugly may end up being Team USA here. But I'm going to start with the good, and I'm actually going to go to another deceased Hall of Famer, the late great Curt Flood. So Curt Flood had never made the Hall. He was on the ballot for that long, I don't believe. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head.
I think he was on for the full 15 years.
Was he? Hold on one second. Let me pull it up here. I have a spreadsheet for that.
Okay.
So I should have had it open ahead of time, but give me a second here. By the way, one thing I did see about the Hall today with everything coming in, people talking about how Larry Walker got the advantage of Coors Field, and someone put up like Larry Walker stats Coors Field versus all of the other Hall of Famers who have played in Coors Field. Larry Walker had 381 in his career in Coors Field, and all the other Hall of Famers combined hit 331. So he was like 50 batting points better. So I was like, oh, that probably means something. You're right. He was on for all 15 years.
Okay.
He topped out in 1996 at 15.1%. So he was in the 5 to 15 range for almost the entire time. And I know he's been on some of the pre-72 committees, but he's never really gotten that close.
Right.
But with Marvin Miller getting in this year, the late Marvin Miller, who always knew he would get elected after he died because there's no way they would ever let him give a speech. A lot of emphasis came back to Flood, who, of course, was the other half of the fighting the whole indentured servitude system that the baseball had for a very, very long time. And
really all of sports, for that matter.
All of sports, yeah. I mean, it's starting with baseball, but yeah, that is correct. All of sports. But something kind of weird happened. It got brought up and everything, and Ted Simmons went out of his way in his speech today to bring up how important Curt Flood and Marvin Miller were. He was talking about how excited he was that he was going in with Marvin Miller, and that the two of them would be forever entwined in the history of baseball. He thought it was a huge thing, and spent time talking about how important Curt Flood was as well. And then something started happening today. Before the game, Alex Bregman of the Astros shows up in a Flood the Hall t-shirt.
Okay, nice.
And then Shohei Ohtani does his post-game stuff in a Flood the Hall t-shirt. Cardinals infielder Jose Rodon before batting practice, Flood the Hall t-shirts. All of a sudden, there are Curt Flood t-shirts popping up all over the place, which is interesting because when Flood died, can't remember how long, that was a while ago now, not a single modern player, active player, went to his funeral. Nobody.
Really?
No one. I went and looked that up.
Oh my God.
Nobody. And it seems now that this last generation, he died back in 1997, right? So we're talking the height of the steroids era and everything else, right? But nobody went to his funeral. There's a whole bunch of energy now behind getting Curt Flood in, who, outside of Jackie Robinson,
if Jasper starts going nuts, everyone who's listening, it's because my wife is coming home, and I don't edit shit because it's just too much of a pain in the ass. So, but yeah, continue.
Anyway, so as I was saying, outside of Jackie Robinson, you're going to have a tough time coming with anyone else who's more important to the changes that took place in baseball than Curt Flood. I mean, you could say Babe Ruth had more of an impact in making it popular or whatever, but Curt Flood is, if you talk about the most influential people in the history of baseball, that's a Mount Rushmore.
Right.
So I thought it was a pretty good point before the corgi break. But anyway, no, so talking about Mount Rushmores, he's got to be up there as the most important people in the development of baseball what it is today. And the fact he's not in is
criminal.
Kind of, it's silly. I mean, again, the Baseball Hall of Fame elected Bowie Kuhn, who Marvin Miller and Curt Flood owned repeatedly in court, a decade plus before they put in Miller, and Flood's still not in. So I'm hoping that when that committee meets, I think He's on the same one with Dick Allen, I think, right?
I would think so.
Yeah,
What's
so
their cutoff? 72?
Yeah, I think it's 72.
All right, because like Allen could go
Either way.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure, but Dick Allen needs to be elected this year.
Mhm.
He just passed away last fall. Ridiculous he wasn't. Dick Allen and Kurt Flood.
Right.
I know there are other guys as well, Jim Cott and folks like that. But like those two are the two big ones, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Have to
I think even a year ago, there was a couple congressmen or senators, I'm not sure, who actually were pushing on the floor for Kurt Flood to get into the hall.
Yeah. So
Which,
I just thought it was cool today with Marvin Miller getting in and Ted Simmons talking about it, that all of a sudden these Flood the Hall shirts started showing up with people. And I'm hoping that means something going forward. So it's just cool to see, like, again, Bregman, Otani, and what's his name for the Cardinals? Its name just popped around my head. Jose Rodon, white guy, Asian guy, Hispanic guy.
And they all walked into a bar and they said to the bartender, no, that's actually really good. And I think it's also the one thing too, if they really want to campaign, you're not looking at 380 writers or whatever it is. You're looking at a group of 16.
Yeah.
That you pretty much should have access to.
A group of 16, many of whom, at least until recently, played with him and should have understood the impact he made. Like Joe Morgan was on that committee. I know Joe passed away last year, but Joe Morgan was on that committee for a long time. Like he should have realized. Of course, Joe Morgan played for the Big Red Machine and Flood was a Cardinal. But like,
that's not how Morgan thought. He was that type of guy. It's like he was that small hall type of guy. It's like
that is true.
You know, so I don't want to call Joe Morgan an asshole because I don't think of him that way. But I disagreed with a lot of the comments he made about the hall, of which
he's a better baseball player than Hall of Fame representative or broadcaster. We'll put it that way.
Yes. Yeah. So I think Morgan sort of didn't think, I'm sure he agreed with everything you just said, but it's like, well, statistically, nah.
Yeah. So anyway, okay. So that's my good. My bad, it goes to just the inevitability of modern life.
Okay.
Bishop Sycamore.
How did we not touch this last week?
I don't know how I screwed this up because I had it originally and I think I just forgot about it. So Bishop Sycamore doesn't exist. Let's start there. It's very important to notice that it doesn't exist. Now, ESPN showed Bishop Sycamore playing one of the top high school football teams in the country. I can't remember who it was off the top of my head.
Doesn't matter.
And they got drilled. And like their team is made up of like ex-JUCO guys and like a couple guys who got out of jail. I think the coach spent some time in jail and all sorts of stuff.
It looks to be going back.
Yeah. And like a simple internet search should have told you that this was not a real school. Also, by the way, when they name something Bishop something, that usually tends to be someone who is actually a bishop. And Sycamore, I know this is tough to believe, is a tree. So Bishop Sycamore got their butts kicked and ESPN got egg on their face. And now Bishop Sycamore is like, hey, the next people are going to play us are going to be super famous. You know, you need to get us on your schedule, yada, yada, yada. Here's where the inevitability of life comes in. I was expecting there to be a 30 for 30 on this because, except for the fact that ESPN's not going to do a 30 for 30 about how ESPN's a moron. But instead, there is going to be a Bishop Sycamore scandal documentary that there is a fight between Kevin Hart and Michael Strahan over who was going to produce it.
Interesting.
And Michael Strahan ended up winning. So Strahan got the rights to produce the documentary on Bishop Sycamore that I just knew was going to happen immediately.
So who gets the money for that? Like who? I guess the guy who came up with the website bishopsycamore.com.
I guess Roy Johnson. like the fired coach. Like, I don't know. It's just one of those things, like how life is sometimes just way too predictable. You just knew this was going to happen. And the fact that these con artists have already made off with their money and now are going to get more money out of it is just, it's the way the world goes.
I think,
again, there are no real good guys in the story.
oh God, no. No, there's just victims too. And one thing that a lot of people aren't talking enough about are really the poor kids, and in some cases not kids, who played for this team hoping for what, maybe a shot to get back into a college program.
Yeah, who knows?
Got nothing in return.
Yep.
Not even good coaching.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, they played IMG Academy, by the way. But yeah, Bishop Sycamore, a school without an address, based in Columbus, Ohio, has no classes, no class schedules, nothing. ESPN's technically a victim, except for the fact they can probably use the internet and should have searched for this. IMG is certainly not a victim because they could also use the internet and search for this. It's just everyone's making money except, like you said, the poor saps on this team hoping for a shot at something. Although, again, they knew they weren't high school kids.
You know, that's still true. But, you know, I'm guessing, and I don't know this for sure, but and for all of them, they just probably had nothing else going on in their life, hoping for that maybe one opportunity. I do wonder this because, like, I certainly watch a lot of ESPN. I didn't even know they showed high school football in any capacity.
The Ocho has now become like the Trace. The things that we used to joke about, like whatever, are now up there. Like TV now. I heard someone the other day complaining about like the fact it was 3-on-3 basketball and Spanish soccer was on TV on a Sunday morning, and that it wasn't, you know, like what it's like as you're a kid. I'm like, yeah, when you were a kid on Sunday morning, it was church and infomercials. This is an improvement. But like,
You're hearing Barbados, it still is.
Well, there you go. But like, they have Spike Ball. I saw like Spike Ball 2020, the lost season on ESPN.
What's Spike Ball?
It's like a trampoline, and there's two teams of two. They stand opposite sides. You have to spike the ball off the trampoline back and forth, and the other team. It's ridiculous, but it's on ESPN. Like, they have bags on ESPN. I've seen darts on ESPN.
Actually, like watching darts sometimes. Just 180.
I'm telling you, I miss the days of the Black Widow, Janet Leigh, and Iwa Mataya playing 9-ball at 2:00 in the morning in 1997.
One of my early crushes.
Janet Leigh or Iwa Mataya, or both?
Oh, the Black Widow.
Oh, yeah, Janet Leigh was.
Yeah. Last time I read, I don't think she's doing really well. I think I saw something a year ago that she's fighting cancer.
Oh, no. She's 50.
Yeah.
Her spouse is George Breedlove.
It sounds like doesn't it sound like a car racer?
It does. Yeah, battling stage 4 ovarian cancer.
Okay.
No, that stinks.
All right, so she's still with us. All right. But yeah, what I was going to say though with ESPN, okay, like if you don't, why are you so desperate to have this game on in the first place? Like for what? It's not like you can't. Okay, well, sorry, kids. All of you were hoping to watch this IMG Academy football game. We're just going to have to show darts instead. You know, like it was
Bring back the world's strongest man. Bring back the world's strongest man,
or something. I mean, you've got this. Nobody would have batted an eye. So for them to act all desperate, like this is a lot on ESPN. Having said that, it's actually a good thing though this happened in the first place, because I'm kind of glad ESPN got egg on its face, because who knows how long this could have went on and how many other victims, because really all these kids, they're victims.
No, agreed.
Yeah. So this is, in a weird way, I'm kind of glad this all came to light, because this would have gotten way worse.
Yeah. So whatever. I guess it's the bad because there's no good guys here, and I just knew this was happening. Mm-hmm. So that's it for the bad for this week. Iwa Mataya, by the way, is healthy and 57 years old. So, And the ugly this week, I told you I'd go back to the other,
CONCACAF.
yeah, no, not CONCACAF,
Oh.
CONMEBOL.
Oh, that's right. You did say that.
Oh, and the U.S. has scored. Congratulations. Good. So CONMEBOL is South America. So like I said, there are 12 countries in South America, 13 if you include France, because they have like French Guiana is still part of their country. And two of them, Guyana and Suriname, have no shot, so they play in North America. But soccer in South America, as I've said before, is different. I think I've told the story before of the 45 separate fires burning in the Argentine National Stadium in a game between Boca and River. And
Yes.
a day that you unintentionally, I wish we had had that film because I jumped out of my chair. I was so mad when you were in the Boca jersey. But so Argentina, so we had the qualifying for that. Argentina and Brazil played each other. Now, this game was supposed to be played last April originally, or April of 2020. And then obviously with COVID and everything, it got delayed. So this is actually technically week 6 of the 18 game thing, even though now we're technically in week 10 or 11 of the qualifying. And so Argentina was going to Brazil to play a game. Now I've been to an amistoso, which is Spanish for friendly, between Brazil and Argentina back in 1999 as well.
Love the air quotes on friendly.
Yeah, it was very friendly. A story for another day. I went there with one of my friends who's Bolivian and I had to stop him from getting arrested for being Bolivian, but that was a whole separate story. Yeah, that's one of the greatest. I have some stories, but talking the Argentine police in Spanish out of arresting my friend by offering to get arrested with him was probably one of my greatest accomplishments in my life. But we went, that game, by the way, had Ronaldo and Ronaldinho. And it was a crazy game. The Argentina actually won that game 2-0. The best player in the field was a guy named Roberto Ayala, who was a defender, played in Italy, I think, for Lazio, a few other places. But he broke up a 2-on-1 with Ronaldo and Ronaldinho as the two guys with the ball, and he broke it up. It was ridiculous. So I've been to some of these games before, and those two countries, Argentina and Brazil, like U.S. and Mexico don't like each other as teams, but U.S. kind of doesn't think of Mexico as being like an equal. Generally, Americans don't think of Mexico as being like their equal country. I hate saying it, but they don't. Brazil and Argentina both think they're better than each other in like their country and everything.
Right.
So they actively dislike each other. So the game starts, and 4 minutes into the game, Brazilian police rush onto the field and arrest 4 Argentine players.
Why?
So we're back to COVID here.
Okay.
So the 4 players who had the issue here, hold on a second, were there's also another 5th one, Emiliano Buendia, who was actually in the stands and didn't actually play, who had the same problem. That they were, hold on, let me make sure I have everybody's name here. So goalkeeper Emiliano Martinez, Christian Romero and Giovanni Lo Celso. Those 3. And then as I said, Emiliano Buendia. So all 4 of those guys play in England. Okay. And there's an automatic quarantine for 14 days in Brazil for anyone who comes from England, Australia, India, or New Zealand for some reason. It has something more political than anything else.
Okay.
Unless you are a native-born Brazilian. But even with that, Brazil didn't let their own England-based players play in this game because of the 14-day quarantine. Mm-hmm. These players who all play in the Premier League said that they weren't coming from England. They were actually coming from some other country. I think Spain is what they said. And that they had been quarantining there for a while, which was a lie on these statements. So the Argentine customs agents didn't realize this because apparently they don't follow the Premier League. I mean, they play for Aston Villa and like Tottenham. Like they're not playing for some tiny team, right? And the Argentine team basically locked the Brazilian authorities out of their hotel somehow. and then got to the stadium, and the Brazilian police tried to get them in the stadium, and they locked them out of the locker room. So the Brazilian, as much as I am on the Argentine side of things, I'm not sure quite. I guess I could have gotten them on the bus, but I'm not quite sure how and when the Brazilian authorities were going to stop these guys who clearly lied when they came in. Now, whether or not the ban is political or whatever, it doesn't matter. If you're coming from those countries, you have to quarantine for 14 days. That's the law.
I gotta find this. Is this on YouTube?
About it.
Like
it's on YouTube.
Okay, I gotta find that. And like, I wonder if somebody's already done the yakety sax bit.
Oh, they should. So the police run onto the field 4 minutes in the game. The referees are like, what the hell is going on? They're blowing the whistles. The players who aren't involved are like arguing with the police. The Brazilian players are arguing with the police.
Okay.
It's crazy. And they end up suspending the game till a future date. Now FIFA has an investigation, which I'm sure is going to be entirely above board, and that all the culprits are going to be properly sanctioned in that situation. But like, it was the dumbest thing I have ever seen on a soccer, and I've seen dumb things on a soccer field.
Yeah, for you to say that, that's pretty
dumbest thing I've ever seen. These four guys clearly knew that they were violating the law. They intentionally violated the law. Again, I'm not saying whether the law was fair or not, but Brazil actually abided by it, even though they didn't have to.
Mm-hmm.
And then Argentina has just put 3 of those 4 guys on the field. And so the Brazilian authorities, again, I'm not going to say anything about Bolsonaro, who's one of the worst world leaders and worst presidents of any country anywhere in the world. He's the leader of Brazil. But I don't know what the Brazilian police were going to do otherwise. Like, they legitimately were locked out of the other situations. No, I didn't hang around and wait for them to get out or whatever. I don't know. I don't know if they were snuck out a back door. They went through the ventilation shafts. I have no idea.
I gotta watch more of this stuff. I gotta watch more South American soccer.
It's silly. It is so freaking silly. It was the dumbest thing I saw this week.
Wow.
And by far the ugliest thing that's happened in Latin American soccer in a while. So yeah, it was.
That's a pretty high bar to clear.
And particularly just in games between Brazil and Argentina. Like, crazy stuff happens in those games all the time. So, by the way, here's a trivia question for you.
The answer is,
let's see how well you do.
Okay.
It's not 4. So there are 10 teams officially in CONMEBOL.
Okay.
So the 10 South American countries other than Guyana and Suriname.
Mm-hmm.
9 of them have qualified for the World Cup. What is the only country that has never qualified?
Okay. Well, let's see. I know Uruguay has, because they've won. Brazil.
They won the first World Cup. So
yeah. Brazil's won. Argentina's won. I remember Colombia in it. Mm-hmm. Pretty sure Venezuela's been in. The other, Peru or Bolivia? I'll guess Bolivia.
Bolivia actually made World Cup '94 in the U.S.
Okay. So in Peru?
And Ecuador hadn't made it until 2002. But the only one who's never made it, by the way, is Venezuela.
Oh, Venezuela? Oh, okay.
Venezuela's never qualified for the World Cup.
Okay.
So
not so much for that.
Qualified. Come on, man. Even Haiti has been to the World Cup. Get your act together, Venezuela.
Oh, I'm my bad. My bad.
So anyway, that's what I got.
Okay. So blatant self-promotion time. Lots of other shows here on the Not in Hall of Fame network. Vinny Villaspinuso, our wunderkind, who makes these great Hall of Fame cases. We just recorded something today. He made the Hall of Fame case for someone we've talked about, Buddy Parker.
Oh yeah, Buddy Parker is overdue. Again, we talked about this when Vermeil was elected 2 weeks ago. Or sorry, has been elected. When he was a nominee, they're going to elect him.
Right.
That he jumped like 5 people, but Parker and Coryell are 1, 2 on my list. I have no trouble with Parker or Coryell going in next, but one of them has to.
Yeah. So Vinny does a whole good 20 minutes on why he should get in. We also just recorded.
Can I give you 5 seconds on why he should get in?
Yeah.
He won championships with the Lions.
Enough said. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Another thing that was just recorded that'll go up pretty soon. How the hell did this go to number 1? We looked at Sheriff, who went number 1 in 1989, 7 years after they recorded it and had broken up.
What was the song?
God, it's so forgettable that I forgot what the damn song was called.
Oh, I have to find this out.
I need you.
Sheriff Band song. When I'm With You.
When I'm With You. There you go.
I don't think I remember that song.
No, it's very forgettable. I mean, it's a weird thing because they went number one on a song with no video because they couldn't. There wasn't one. Just somebody started playing it in Las Vegas, and it just sort of seemed to fit all the hair metal ballads at the time.
Wow.
So we did that
I
one.
have to look this up afterwards.
And Chris Burnett and I looked at, and this crap was on national television. Joni Loves Chachi.
Oh well, there you go.
Mm-hmm. And we
and now Chachi loves Republican. What do I want to call them? Rallies. We'll call them rallies.
It's not like he has anything else to do.
He has a very active Twitter life, my friend.
Does he? Well,
I don't know.
It was actually interesting looking back at the mania of Scott Baio. Brought back some memories, and man, that show was terrible. Horrible show.
Yeah.
My God. Actually, Happy Days was crap.
See, I still think Happy Days I still maintain the worst show ever on television that had any like real run. I'm not counting shows like My Mother the Car. But the worst show I think I had any run on television was Green Acres.
I think you said that, yeah.
Yeah, Green Acres is unwatchable. I don't know how it was watchable at the time. Like Gilligan's Island is bad.
It's fun bad.
Yeah, Happy Days was sort of fun bad too. Particularly if you ever wondered what happened to Richie Cunningham's older brother who went to play basketball and never returned.
Yeah, we talked about that. I mentioned because Tom Bosley's character made a cameo in this episode. And I was sort of shitting on his parenting skills. And it's like, this is a guy who lost his oldest son. Just completely vanished.
Hey, Australia once lost a prime minister. So
there you go. So yeah,
sorry, have you heard that story before?
I've heard it, but I don't understand it.
Their prime minister in like 1969 went swimming, jumped into the ocean, and never surfaced.
So he swam with the sharks? Didn't jump in?
Yeah, he got eaten. Like I can't come up with anything. He jumped in the ocean and it was literally never found. They lost the prime minister.
What is it with, well, maybe Canada can lose our prime minister. What is it with Commonwealth prime ministers? I'm going to end here with the political rant. Hey, Justin, asshole. Yeah, I know it's kind of shitty when people are throwing stuff at you and they shouldn't do it. Having said that, when you're saying, well, they're all racists, when it was a mixed group, and calling them all misogynist, when again, it was a mixed group, and you're Captain Blackface, I don't think you can really throw the word racist around. Just want to throw that out. That's it.
Fair enough. By the way, the man's name was Harold Holt. December 17th, 1967. He dove into the water by Cheviot Beach or Chevio. I don't know how to pronounce it. In Australia, they probably say Cheviot Beach near Melbourne in Portsea, and never surfaced.
Nice.
So there we go.
All right. Well, with that, wherever you are, stay safe. Don't get lost. Don't let people throw things at you.
And re-release whatever recordings you have 8 years or 6 years later without a video. They'll do well.
It very well might. It very well might.
Wait, so hold on. Sorry. So there's no video maker who said that they shot the sheriff? Sorry.
Damn, I wish I had a deputy be here. Looks like I picked the wrong day to stop drinking.
Or sniffing glue. I'll talk to you later, man.
All right, take care.